Train Manager routes. This is the video game Train Manager. I'm going to talk about routes and how they work. You have to have a train, and then when you have the train, it becomes yarded or at the station, and you see there's an option over here. It says reroute, or it might say create route. So then you have a hub. I'm going to use this one here, which is Columbus. And it's going to show you all the tracks. It's really not easy to understand. They did not make it easy. They did not make it easy to understand. But you can see that you can highlight the route. And when you do, over here it shows track range. And you want your train to be similar to the track range. Some trains have a short track range. You don't want to put it on a long track. And a train that has a long track range, you don't want to put it on a short track. So you want to check these numbers. For example, this one over here is 460 kilometers. And this one also says 460 kilometers because it's the same track. Unfortunately, you cannot do things like move the window around. You have to position the map and then look at it like this so you can see, because it's very difficult to understand what you're looking at. But based on what I'm seeing here, I can put one more track in Columbus that's going to be headed down towards Cincinnati. It's going to be a short train. I'll probably move this train over here, one of my short trains, down into Columbus. I used to live in Long Island, New York, which is right here, and I've actually ridden on this train. This is an example where the track is just very short because of the island. So what I did was I moved, it says 140 kilometers, I moved one of my smaller trains, which is this one. You probably recognize it. I moved it to this track so it'll run back and forth. We're not wasting an expensive train, and I'm using a train that I already purchased that can't really run on the other tracks. So originally I started with Chicago because it has the most routes. It's a hub that has a lot of routes. And they were all short range. I've only got one left. And I either sold them or I moved them somewhere else that I thought was more appropriate. So we got this one over here, which is one of those short range vehicles. He's going to have to move to probably whatever it was, Columbus, Ohio. So you see over here, there's this green line and it looks very long. This right here, check out the details. It says Washington to Florence. So Washington is green. Washington is right here. And it goes all the way down to here. And then Washington has a long track coming out over here. All these green tracks, and the one that goes to New York. Obviously, the one that goes to New York, I could have done New York to Washington. I could have done Washington to New York. Doesn't really matter. So you've got these long tracks, and you'll see that this one over here has two routes in the same spot. The yellow and the green, the same train, you know, we got a train running on the yellow and a train running on the green. And it's not the only place where it happens. I believe that, you know what, the one that I had over here, I had one that went to Terre Haute. I don't know how you pronounce it, but I deleted it. I removed it. So it's possible to have a short route on top of overlapping another route. Here's one where they overlap, which means that they might share some of the demand. And you want to minimize that. Here's another example where they overlap. These two lines are overlapping. And I already fixed a lot of the problems. For example, This one over here goes west and then it goes north, so it's actually a bit longer than it looks. And there's a little bit of overlap on the blue, but the line can go a lot longer. It travels along the gray. You see how you've got the purple and it ends at Round Lake, and then there's a gray line. That's where the train extends to this town over here, Beloit. And it looks like there might be a line over here that goes through Aurora that I haven't used yet, that gray line. I'm really not sure because I haven't been using the game that long. So obviously you want to start with something like Chicago that has a lot of routes. You want to avoid the small countries. Some of the hubs, like this one here, which is Indianapolis, I don't think there's a lot of long routes. You can highlight over here. You see that's 400, 654, 551, 981. The 981 zigzags up, but these are all going to have trains that go a short distance. Don't really have long lines, and it looks like Columbus is going to be the same. A lot of the lines coming out of Columbus are pretty short. They connect with the Washington line. I had the Columbus line first. I chose to use the color based on the hub that it comes out of, but you could obviously do it any way that you want. It makes it easy for me to see that this particular hub is missing. I could probably add 2 more trains coming out of here. So this one that's pending, even though I put for New York City, there's a good chance it's going to end up coming down here to Nashville. The short trains, maybe they're going to be more useful near the coast because, as you can see, we've got, just being near the coast, you can't extend it out very far. For example, New York to Boston only goes so far. I don't know if this is a short-range vehicle or not. And obviously the longer trains are going to be going cross-country. I don't have one of the long-range trains yet, so I don't know what the long-range route is going to be yet. Okay, so that's a little bit about the routes. We're going to go through... don't know exactly where it is. Over here it says routes. To be honest, this page is not very useful. It shows you that it's en route. It shows you how far it's gone, how many stops, the time for arrival, where it's going to or where it came from. And there's really nothing useful that comes out of this page, unfortunately. If you want to see what the demand is, you don't see it. Some of the interface is a little bit confusing. And you can click on the route like this. This is the train that is on that route. And you see what the range is over here. Chicago Lansing, passenger train. It shows 350 kilometers, which could be the train limitation, the number of stops. It shows you all the stops in between, doesn't show the demand. I think you only see the demand when you first book the route, but I'm not sure. And you can see over here we've got like a little map, not very useful. You can change the color and you can change the name. And then you can see the history for this route. And it's, it's a little bit difficult to use. Maybe it's not so bad on a cell phone. But over here you'll see how much money you made, see how many times I departed the route. You can see how many people rode. The numbers fluctuate a lot. Like over here it says 410. Over here it's 282. I don't understand why. I should have had the proper reputation, but I guess maybe, it's possible that I didn't. Okay, so that's a little bit about routes. Not a lot of information. Maybe in the future I'll be able to give you more tips, but that's all I have for now. If you have any questions or comments, please post below.